Hi guys, it's my second blog post, and this time I am interviewing Christian Howard from Assassin's Fist. I hope you guys enjoy it. From looking into you and your role in Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, I know that you're a big Street Fighter fan, and a fan of fighting games in general. What characters were which character was your favourite, and which one was your least favourite?
Sure. Okay. Well, obviously it's cliche to say Ken, but it's true. So when I first played Street Fighter 2 in the arcades, and then on the Genesis or the Mega Drive back home with my brothers. So it was always Ryu and Ken, because they were the karate guys, and that was what really inspired me to get into martial arts as well. So Ken was the guy because he was I guess the epitome of the American dream. It was the guy with the surf hair and all that stuff. So yeah, Ken was a big favourite of mine, and then I used to play Tekken quite a lot as well. So Law, because I was a big Bruce Lee fan. And then and then later Jin came in, and Jin was also so a bit of that. But I know you base whether you like a character or not on the moveset as well as the aesthetics and things like that. So there's certain characters that were just annoying in different versions of the game that really kind of you thought I hate them, but not for any genuine reason. And the later Street Fighters Ruthless and Haka, I don't really see the point too much of them. I mean, they're goofy in there for the kids, and it's all fine. But in terms of the original ones, we had Sagat, who's just a bit too strong, I think. So yeah, I mean, I didn't hate any of them, but those were the games that I played growing up: Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and Tekken later on. Never really Virtua Fighter, but when I was living with Joey, we used to play Marvel vs. Capcom all the time. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was the game. So I had a team that was those are my guys. So Ken was in that. It was the Alpha Ken strike. Cyclops, who was awesome, and then Juggernaut for a little bit of muscle in the back. But that was it. You just put them in, and the varied moveset. It was an awesome game to play. I haven't really got into MVC3 because I don't actually have a game system anymore, but those were the ones that I really grew up on and enjoyed.
Did you have any prior writing experience for Legacy and Assassin's Fist?
Well, for writing, for me, I was always writing stories, not so much script writing, but I started doing a few different short films and stuff. I did one that I starred in with a friend of mine called Bound, that I'd kind of written based on my friend Ahmed, who's in it. He plays this he's an Iraqi guy, so he thought, okay, I'll use that to my strength. So he wanted to play this kind of sort of terrorist character, and he was going to get interrogated. So we worked on that together, and I worked with Bo Fowler, who directed it, and we came up with a story together and wrote that. And those kind of things were good formative learning experiences for what makes story work, and you kind of start things that just seem obvious when you get told them about 3-act structure and stuff that you don't know about. You kind of pick up as you go. So by the time we did Legacy and Assassin's Fist, it just became a good process, and like I said, we had the time to do it. So yeah, it was definitely a good experience and a big learning experience for when coming to write other things. And since then, I've obviously written other shorts and other features that we're working on. Yeah, I think it definitely broadens your scope as a filmmaker and not just an actor. If you can write the kind of things you want to be in, or direct the kind of things you want to be in, as well as just being a kind of acting vessel.
We do this at that time.
You can just do more.
Well, exactly, and you become more of an actual creative filmmaker than just an actor in something.
So how was co-writing handled during Legacy and Assassin's Fist? Was it the entire script written together, or were you writing individual episodes separate from each other and then doing the whole story?
Yeah, we didn't write different episodes because it all kind of blended together. together and there was jumping backwards and forwards, we kind of planned out what we wanted to do with the story structure, and then it was like, okay, you take this section, I'll take that section, and so I was writing more of the Ryu and Ken stuff, and Joe was writing more of the past stuff with Goki and Goken, and then we kind of merged the two and started, okay, well, what if we put a little bit in here about this, or like, oh, we're missing a scene here, something's got to happen. So we were going back and forth like that until it all kind of like knitted together, and then again with the actual lore that's already there, we had a skeleton structure of like, well, these certain events have to happen, like, Gotetsu and Akuma have to fight at some point, and Ryu and Ken have to, go through their like rite of passage, all these things that not necessarily made sense in the chronology, but we found a way to put them together, like, why is Ken even there? Like, we had to come up with reasons for why, and it was like, well, he's meant to be like this unruly kid, but why would he be like that if everything was fine at home? So we put in that his mum had passed away, and that was kind of what sent him over the edge, and all that kind of stuff is just making sense of what was already there, to have a story structure that actually flowed along and had a chronology that was also true to the games.
So how did you find it acting and writing the same project? I know you kind of answered that before a bit.
Yeah, but it's an interesting one because obviously it's very difficult to see yourself from the outside, and that's why it's good to have a great director who can kind of say to you, oh, this is what I'm seeing, this is what everyone's seeing, rather than being too much in your own head. Like if you've written it yourself and thought, yeah, it'll be wicked if I say this, and then you do it and everyone's like, I'm not so sure. So it's definitely good to work with other people, and so Joey and I could bounce off each other, where it's like, oh, I'm not sure if that's going to work, we try it out and just see, and that's how the kind of dialogue formed for us. So yeah, it was very interesting, and obviously we're kind of putting our work out there for all the other actors to love or criticize and go, well, I'm not sure about saying this line. So it was good to actually work on the process together, and rather than just say, no, it has to be like this. Some lines do have to be very integrally the same, but other than that, you can kind of free flow. Even things that I had written for Ken to say, got there on the day and was just like, I'm going to change it a little bit and make it more colloquial. And obviously, because Mike is from America as well, very helpful to get the kind of intonation and the vernacular that he was using for me as well, because obviously being English, there's bits in the script where we're like, Ken's mum died, and then it's like, no, his mom died, and you're like, okay, you've got to get those things, get your head around them. So no, it was a very interesting process and good learning experience.
I actually watched Assassin's Fist before I watched Legacy.
Right, okay.
But from doing that, I can see like there was like a huge leap from Legacy to Assassin's Fist and like the style and the quality of the filming. So how did you guys go about finding that right level of realism that was applied to Assassin's Fist?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably one of the only people that's seen Legacy after Assassin's Fist, but you can see it's kind of, because it's a proof of concept, we were trying certain things out, and we got a lot of stuff right, but there were certain things that just didn't work for us or for the wider audience as well. Whether it was the eyebrows that were a big point of contention for people, because you look at the games and that's exactly what's going on, and you think, okay, well, would that work in the real world? So we tried it out, and the general consensus was, no, the eyebrows are a bit much, don't worry about that. So we scrapped that, and then other things, we kept in, and even when it came to the effects, the budget we had back then compared to when we did Assassin's Fist, we couldn't really control so much of like, it's got to be exactly like this. There was too much time pressure and not enough money to do it. So by the time we got to Assassin's Fist, there was a greater knowledge and a team of people that were willing to believe in the project and do it like that. So we had great visual effects people in Bulgaria, and we sat down with them for a long time to say, right, okay, we need it to be exactly like this, and they were sending us like rough cuts of things, and we were like, yeah, okay, make it a bit more like this little bit, and obviously you don't take into account that they've got to sit at a computer for hours going like, oh, he wants this little bit of spark in here. So yeah, that kind of stuff was very cool, but it's obviously a big step up, like filmmaking wise, to then be working with the best people you have at your disposal in the best locations and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Legacy was okay, we're going to go to the woods in England in February when it's freezing, and we're going to run around bare feet and see what happens. And we were shooting on like Phantom camera and everything, and that was all awesome. It was really good to get a lot of those shots, like the backlit rain and things, and you just kind of learn, okay, what's going to actually really look cool for when we come to do Assassin's Fist. And so it was definitely a good almost like mock-up of what we were going to do and see how people responded to it. I personally learned a lot of like filmmaking just from doing Legacy, even though it was only like a couple of days shoot, that we then applied in doing Assassin's Fist.
So what influenced the story other than the source material?
Well, there's a lot of kind of universal elements in there, all the brother versus brother, and the kind of love triangle that you've got in the past of Goki, Goken, and Sayaka, and there's a very kind of Star Wars sort of through line going on where you've got Goki as the young kind of Anakin Skywalker who turns to the dark side, and even the Hado itself having Satsuno Hado and Muno Hado.
Dark and light.
Exactly, it's just like different sides of the Force. So, and again, even in Star Wars, those are like universal themes that come up, but it is a good kind of comparison to make. Like we parallel the rise of Darth Vader as the same as the rise of Akuma. So that was definitely a big influence, and I was a huge fan of the old Star Wars films. Talk about the new ones, but definitely the old ones. So we'll see what happens with the new ones. And yeah, that was a huge influence on my personal like writing of the story arc that went along. And just, I guess, old martial arts movies that we grew up on. Like, I was a huge Van Damme fan, so there's a lot of bits in there where it comes to like training montages that you'll kind of think, it's a bit like Kickboxer and stuff like that, So we wanted to put those things in on purpose because the time period is also like late 80s for Street Fighter. And
I think the training montages really made it stand out.
Sure, but something that's not, I don't think it's done that much anymore because people think, audiences just want to get on with it. And yes, some of them do, but a lot of guys probably like my age.
Development.
Exactly, and you think it's not just so easy, like snap your fingers, okay, now you can do Hado. That was a huge point of what we didn't want them just to go like, you can now do Hado, and just like, yeah, they're firing fireballs. You've got to earn it, you've got to like really get there. So even though it's kind of long and drawn out, and that's again down to the kind of Japanese style, a lot of those old mangas, you'd be watching an episode of like Fist of the North Star, and there'd be a fight coming, and the entire episode would be like the build-up, and you'd be like, and they didn't even fight. It's ridiculous. So there was some of that, little homages to like when they're trying to do the Hado and it just keeps dissipating. So that, and yeah, just a lot of like 80s martial arts films kind of influenced the time period as well as the training we were doing. And I hope in the same way that I was like looking at Kickboxer thinking, yeah, I can kick a tree over, someone's going to watch Assassin's Fist and go, yeah, I'll try and do that. So yeah.
I love that scene.
There is a bit actually in Assassin's Fist. Unfortunately, hit the cutting room floor where we were just coming up with different training things, and there was a tree in the woods in Bulgaria, and I was just like, okay, we'll get a bit of that. So I was like roundhousing it. So I had this shot where it was like in the canopy of the trees, and you saw the trees like shake like that. And as it panned down, I was just like roundhouse in the like 3 days, 3 nights when they were all training on their own. But unfortunately, there wasn't a place for it in the series, so
that leads on to
sacrificed my
next question of how did you find the film locations used in the scenes for Assassin's Fist?
It was beautiful. I mean, we were back and forth to Bulgaria for a good 2 to 3 years, just like wrecking things. And when we first went over there, it was winter, and so it was a completely different environment. None of the trees had leaves on. There was quite an alpine feel to it. The snow on the ground, and we thought, is this really going to work as Japan? But the location guys out there who wrote the film did a great job of like anything we asked for. Right? We need a cave, we need a waterfall. They were just like, okay, well, let's go and see them. A few hours driving like out of Sofia, and you could find all these things. So when we came back in the summer, it was perfect. Like as a double for Japan, you wouldn't really know the difference. Even like Japanese that watch the series.
I thought it was Japan.
Yeah, they are.
And I was just like,
it's crazy, and the craftsmanship out there as well. Like the dojos that I did some like rudimentary sketches of like make it like this building, and then we had a production designer Antonello out there who like drew up some like proper architectural plans and got his draftsman to like actually do, and it was amazing to see like, okay, well that's like a drawing that I did on the back of a napkin or something, and it's turned into an actual structure that you can do. And they knocked those up in a couple of weeks as well. Like both of those dojos, purpose built out in the middle of nowhere, and they're just like.
Were they made out of like wood and stuff, or was it like stone?
Not like a set, not like okay, these are really flimsy. They were like proper buildings, like the structural supports and everything, they all worked because we didn't have the luxury of shooting like in a studio and saying, okay, we'll make a bedroom.
So it had to be able to withstand weather.
Yeah, indoor, outdoor locations. So everything had to work, and there was no way you could like, okay, we'll just take out this wall to get this shot. It was literally just like we've got to be in the rooms, and it was good. I think as an actor, it adds a lot of authenticity to like where you are. You're not like, okay, we've got to pretend that we came in out of this like amazing landscape and now we're just in a blue room or something. It's actually gives you a lot in the performance to be like, okay, we're in a genuine dusty old dojo, you know.
Are they still there?
Well, I think they are. There's no hobos living in them. I don't know, because we weren't exactly on like a studio lot or anything like that. They are just out in the countryside. So I'm sure now that the filming contract's up, they've probably been, I don't know,
tourist attraction.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be like a mecca for people to go to. Left Street Fighter.
How long did it take you guys, you and Mike Moe, to form the close bond that's actually palpable within the series?
Well, it's good that you say that because I didn't know Mike before, and obviously he was a new choice for Ryu coming along, and so we had Skype like back and forth, running lines in the script and just kind of getting to know each other a bit. But I didn't actually meet Mike until we were out in Bulgaria in pre-production. But Mike's such a genuine, really nice guy that you can't help but love him. He's such a great dude. So yeah, when he came out, we hit it off, and with everyone as well. Mike's just universally loved. So it was really good to get that very similar sense of humour. So all the little pranks that happen in the show, this is pretty much just mimicking life. The only thing I would say is that me and Mike are probably opposites of Ryu and Ken in real life. Like Mike will just run into a club and just start dancing around, and I'm a bit more reserved, like kind of, geez, do I really want to be here? And it's the club scene that we had. Ken's got to run in there and arm around the chicks and everything, and that would be Mike, and I would be like, oh, geez, look at this place.
It's interesting. How long did you have from learning choreography to filming? So it's like quite short.
Yeah, I mean that was another difficult one because Joey and I have worked on choreography on various things before, so there's kind of like a rhythm that you have anyway to like work things out quite quickly, like an unspoken language. And even though we had like a few years leading up, we had ideas of like what we need in these fights, but in terms of the actual kind of like meat of the fight, all the basic choreography that's going on, that again had to be very key to the games. It wasn't like we were just going to make up, okay, then he comes in, snake strikes or something. It was like all had to be moves from the game. And so with the pressure that we had time, we didn't have any days off really. We were shooting 6 days a week, 1 day's rest, but that was then taken up doing choreography and stuff. So with both of the Ryu and Ken fights, I pretty much had to come up with them as a bare bones, and then Mike would come in. He's got a taekwondo background, so it was like, well, do you think you could do this kick? And he was like, yeah, I'll do it like this. And then it was like, okay, that then flows on something else. So it was like a matter of like days, maybe a week of like coming up with the choreography and then just drilling it whenever you could, like literally, okay, cut on this scene, we'll go and do some choreography while they set up for the next one, and then just performing on the day. I mean, with everyone's fights in the whole thing, we were so pushed for time that ideally you'd want a couple of days to shoot a fight so no one's getting injured, they're not getting tired, they can keep up the emotion and everything, but we just didn't have it. So some fights were shot in half a day, some in just like a full day. Even the end fight, the Ryu and Ken, it's meant to be the most epic fight of the series, we shot in 2 days, but half of that was taken up doing all the dialogue down at the lake as well, and all the kind of end shoryuken and everything. So the actual choreography in the fight was all done in a day. That includes all the spin kicks, all the jump kicks and everything, and we were doing it for real as well. So it was pretty grueling. Even the Gotetsu Akuma fight at night, and we were shooting in summer, so the nights were short. We had maybe 4 or 5 hours of darkness to get everything in, and that's, obviously Joey knows what he's doing, and we've got Togo, who's doing a lot of the stuff himself, and you think the poor guy, he's out there freezing cold, and it was just like, it was a tough night, I'd say that much, but yeah, not a lot of time, so it was just pulling it all out of the bag.
I know you did martial arts before filming, like from a very young age. But did you do gymnastics as well?
I started gymnastics personally when I was 17, so I guess that's pretty late to start if you want to be an Olympian.
Yeah.
But just in terms of like, I watched the Van Damme movies and stuff when I was a kid, and like Bruce Lee movies and things. So I was always trying to emulate those moves when I was training in like the club martial arts, doing the belts and everything. And then when I kind of got to college, I started doing gymnastics just because I was like, I want to be able to do some flips and stuff. And then you kind of go into like tricking, in this big tricking community. So I think for me it was useful to get all of those elements together for fight scenes, because you've got to be very versatile. You've got to be able to do a lot of different styles, not just like, okay, well, I studied karate, so that's all I'm going to do, or like this guy just does capoeira. It's like you've got to be able to adopt any style. So with gymnastics, I mean, it took a while to kind of build up to that, but I, strong enough legs to get myself over. And when it came to Assassin's Fist, it was like, well, even though I can do a back somersault, does it look right? Does it look clean? So I had to like drill that stuff to make it not like a really messy, like, okay, well, you just about did a back somersault. It's like, it's got to look like Ryu and Ken have been doing this all their life. So that was kind of the biggest challenge, really drilling that towards the end and making it look like these guys have been doing it all their life, even if you as the actor haven't.
And you had the extra weight that you gained as well, so you had to get used to it.
Yeah, I was fairly lucky again, since I look at Legacy and that jump kick at the end that everyone hates, by the way. I look at myself and I just think, God, I look so heavy because I'm so laboured, like jumping up, and John was just like this, and so
I think you looked bigger in Assassin's Fist than you did in...
I was definitely bigger in Assassin's Fist, but the difference was I had 3 or 4 years getting used to being that heavy, because before we did Legacy, I was pretty skinny. I was like 77 kilos or something like that, and I then put on 10 kilos to then play Ken. So it was like, arms were a bit bigger, carrying a bit more weight around, and it was like suddenly like, oh, I can't jump as high as I used to. Even the bit when I jump over the Hadoken that Ryu does, I was really struggling to like get over it high enough and then go into the roll and the Shoryuken. So it was like things like that were just really super frustrating. But I had a good lead up time, kept training over those years when we were writing the script and being frustrated that it hadn't happened. So I was used to now sitting at about 85, 86 kilos, and so I could do all the stuff. And that's why I really felt for Mike, because he went from being like a smaller guy to then having to put on all this bulk. He put on like 30 pounds, and it was just like, you could see he was like struggling with it the same way I had. I was like, haha, no, okay.
How many different martial arts styles do you mix into Saxoken?
I mean, it's based on karate, as you can see, and then you've also got like Ryu and Ken's style of it has got like this kind of boxer's bob, and there's a lot of like just boxing hands going on with their jabs and things. It kind of goes away from karate. They've still got big reverse punches, so there's a few different things going on. And then just the kicks, if you want to put in like tatsumakis, you've got to kind of slide over to taekwondo a little bit. So it's a good mix of like Japanese martial arts and Western boxing, but also the whole point of Ansatsuken, and every practitioner has slightly got their own style of it as well. So you can see like Goken's got this kind of palms up sort of thing because of his like Buddhist roots, and then Goki's got more of a demonic thing, and Ryu and Ken have got like more of a Western modern style. So it gives us a little bit of free reign to do whatever you want in a way. Like we can put in whatever's in the game and explain it away with, well, it's a progressive style, and they don't have to say, well, you wouldn't do that in karate, because it's a mixture of everything. And that was kind of the point of...
Well, as the game's moved forward, it's like Ryu and Ken got further and further apart in the moves.
Exactly. So that was why, obviously Ken coming from the States and putting his dad as a boxer gave Ken a bit more of, that advantage coming from his heritage, and also just being a bit flashier, like as soon as they got to Alpha, Ken was doing these big axe kicks and stuff, and Ryu was staying a bit more grounded with the powerful side kicks and things.
Very quickly, you've already kind of answered this, but with you doing all of your stunts, how many injuries did you pick up?
All of them, I guess. No, it was interesting because we didn't have the budget or the time for doubles really. So I had to do everything myself. Joey had to do everything himself. Mike had to do everything himself. Some of the other guys we had like a few doubles for, and I don't really think it's noticeable where the split is for a few things, but it's literally just if you're doing tatsumapis and stuff. So yeah, there was injuries on the way, and Mike hurt his ankle really early on, which we were just like dreading. Like, okay, but he kind of just sucked it up and did it. So me personally, I mean, I managed to cut my foot open when we were doing the dojo fight, because it was, for one, really nice to work on a hard floor, because all the other fights are like outside and you're kind of like slipping all over grass or gravel or something. So I was like, oh, finally a hard floor, and I ended up like cutting my foot on it. And because we were barefoot all the time, I couldn't cover up, I couldn't really dress the wound, so it kind of became infected, and I was like, had to go on like a course of antibiotics to like actually stop myself dying. So there was things like that, and there's the odd like hit in the head, and we were taking a few hits for real, but in general I got away with it okay, I think, considering like the gruelingness of the shoot. But yeah, other than like the odd bumps and scrapes, and you got a bit of bruising for a day, I was okay in terms of injuries.
Would you do it again if you with that knowledge?
What, without a double or anything?
Yeah.
I think I would, because I trained hard for it, and I kind of wanted to genuinely say I did all of that, and not go, yeah, I did it all, but only the bits that you can't see, it's not me. So all the somersaults and things like that, I was just like, well, I can do it, so why not? If there was something I literally couldn't do, or it was just ridiculously dangerous, and it was just like, we need a stunt professional to do it, then by all means. But when it came down to like the fight choreography, I'm willing to take a hit if it's going to count, and I'm willing to do any flip or whatever. And it was dangerous in regards to like some of the environment, because we weren't fully in control of it. Even down at the lake, all that tall grass is a bit unpredictable. So there was twigs and things like that, even broken bottles that you had to like kind of make sure. I mean, there was a few times where it was just like, oh, I think I've stood on a broken bottle, and it wasn't good. But yeah, no, I think I would do it again until I can't anymore, because I stupidly keep doing it or something.
How did you go about incorporating paddle moves into the choreography?
So again, it wasn't a case of like, well, let's just fill it up with like generic choreography and then put in a special move. It was like every move is, because we played the game so much, we kind of had an idea of like a lot of combos, yeah, that you would put in. And even it's interesting to see that people have actually kind of got gifs of the moves from the game and then the choreography, and saying, oh, this is this move, this is this move. And it's really gratifying to see that, because it's not just like a bunch of nonsense and then, oh, he did a Hadoken, which is what I think a lot of people are probably expecting. And I'm glad that the kind of hardcore fans really identified that we had put in all the moves from the game, and you could see them and even know the input and stuff. So the way I would choreograph fights would be with the narrative and be progressive with the emotions of the people in the fight. So it's not just like, okay, they fight, and someone gets knocked down. It's like, you're coming forward, you're on the attack, what's that make the other person do? And it's all kind of reaction upon reaction, and that will lead up to someone getting pressured to the point where they need to do something else. So same sort of thing when Ryu knocks Ken down in the dojo fight, and then he doesn't follow up, because that's his character. It's not like just, oh, well, now we've got to find a way for Ken to get up. It's like, why would Ryu do that, and what would Ken do in that instance? And then he gets up all frustrated, and then he kind of goes on a more of an onslaught. So yeah, it was interesting to put in all the moves from the game and just see what would work. I mean, there's certain moves, I don't know if you do hold down medium kick with Ryu and Ken, they do this little flick, leg flick, that you're just like, I don't know if there's a place for that, to be honest. But all the the major ones, are the ones that actually you could combo in real life, we definitely tried to put in there.
Was there any, well, you've already said that there was that bit that you had to cut out with the roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
Is there any other footage that you had to cut out to make sure the series wasn't too long? So like, I noticed that the sparring scene with Dad, he got quite sweaty. So I guess that was a longer scene.
Yeah.
That had to be shortened down.
Again, there's a lot of stuff in there, but just for the the flow of the series and keeping the the story moving, you kind of have to drop by the wayside. And there's some really nice shots that unfortunately couldn't make it in, but on the DVD, you'll see a few deleted scenes where it just gives a little bit more character development and stuff. But also there was a lot of stuff where we were on such a time pressure that we couldn't necessarily get everything. Like the bar fight scene, everyone's so frustrated that you didn't see actually what happened with all the soldiers, and so are we, because we wanted to do all that, but we had one day shooting in there, and there just wasn't time to get a big fight scene in. So that kind of stuff's unfortunate, but there is a lot of like little gems that we kind of had to take out. Like you said, with Ken's dad coming back, he shows them how to box, and then there was like a goodbye scene, and the kind of reconciliation is there. But it came down to like, well, do we really need to see that to understand the story, and is it going to put us over time? And if it was, and it was just like, okay, unfortunately that's got to go. So yeah, you have to make those compromises in filmmaking for the greater good, even if you're like, I love this shot, is it actually working, you know? So yeah, definitely there's a few things that you're just like, I mean now, because it's been a while since we filmed it, I was like, yeah, I completely forgot we even filmed that. So it's yeah, it's good, and even the DVD, I'll be excited to watch it.
What was your one favourite experience from writing and playing Ken?
For what, during filming?
Yeah, number one.
God, that's a really difficult, because again, like all the filming kind of merges together in your head. But in terms of like a scene I was in as Ken or something.
Anything that you wrote or that you did as Ken?
Well, I mean, I quite like, you know, Ken's got a bit of a prankster side, so there's a few elements in there where Ken's kind of getting the better of someone, being the better of you or something like that. So those kind of ones I was quite excited to act out, because you're like, okay, well, I'm glad that when people watch it, for the most part, the beats are in the right place, people are laughing at the jokes rather than the bits in between, and so yeah, all of that stuff's really cool. Obviously I wrote in all the bits where Ken has to be topless, because I was like working hard, and I was like, okay, well, that's going to happen. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult, really difficult to say, because the development as well of like, we weren't shooting in order. A lot of the end scenes, because they're in the small dojo, we had to shoot there first. So the beginning and the end of the series were kind of shot first, and then all the stuff in the middle at the old dojo was shot afterwards. So it was really interesting thinking, oh, I kind of wish I did that bit differently, but you don't have a choice now. It's kind of done and dusted. So yeah, there's a few, like, you know, walking along with Goku, and kind of there's a bit of a handing of the torch in terms of being Ryu's protector that Goku gives to Ken and says you've got to watch out for him, and I think that's really good kind of moving forward to have those things in there. So
Dan Hibiki gets mentioned. Are there plans to introduce him if the series returns?
Well, we would see about that. It was again like a kind of a nod to fans that would know that Dan once trained at Goken's dojo under Goken, was kind of a student of his. And again, a deleted scene, you will find out a little bit more about Dan. There's a little explanation around the campfire. And I'm really glad that a lot of that seems to be one of the most popular things. People are like, who the hell is Dan? So I'm glad I got to say that line as well. So yeah, that was a big kind of homage. And even when we were working with producers and people, they were just like, who is this guy? We're not going to see him. Can we just cut this out? And we like really had to fight to keep that bit in there. Who the hell is Dan? And the popularity of it was ridiculous. Same with like the Mega Man scene. You know, like people were just like, well, what's the point? Like in Mega Man, like what's that got to do with Street Fighter? And we were like, no, don't worry. Exactly. So that again, you know, we just went ham and was just like, and people loved it. And it was kind of like, okay, that's good that we were kind of proved right on that. So yeah, I think moving down, you might get some flashbacks of Dan, but again, it's a character we didn't have time to cast or develop or anything like that. So there's obviously, Dan is kind of important to a lot of people's Street Fighter stories. Sagat, for one, you know, Dan's father fighting against him, and his kind of quest for revenge. So it's a possibility, but by that point you're looking at Guile and Chun-Li and Bison and everyone. So we'll see if there's time or not.
That kind of answers my next question. Right. Like introducing characters that you could realistically pull off, like Guile and Sagat, rather than Blanca, who's kind of unrealistic.
Yeah, again, that's kind of back to what I was saying about the Street Fighter core characters that I dislike a bit, like Rufus and things like that. You just think like, well, this guy doesn't really have that much grounding in what's going on, and you think a guy like Sagat could exist if Ryu and Ken are the size they are, because that was another thing. People going like, oh, they look so small because they're used to Street Fighter 4 where they're just massive, ridiculous like that. Sagat. You think, well, if Ryu and Ken are that size, how are you ever going to find someone that looks like Sagat? So, yeah, those characters are kind of a bit more based in reality, and then you've got your kind of Dalsim and Blanca that you're just like, oh, that would be a bit trickier to do, but we've definitely got ideas on how to base them in the real world, the same way we did with all the Hadou stuff, because it wasn't just like, oh, magic powers, it was like, okay, I see, so if you really did that, yeah, it would all be about making it realistic.
So do you think Capcom will be willing to revisit your original concepts after the success you've had with...
Well, we can only hope, and I think the success of what's happening with Assassin's Fist will definitely pave the way for that. I mean, who really knows what the future will bring, but I would hope that we get to do a lot more, because there is a lot more story to go in. I mean, that was the Ansatsuken lineage is a tiny portion of what is going on in the whole Street Fighter world, and obviously Ken's my favourite, the whole Ryu and Ken story, but other people are like, I don't really care about them, I want to see Chun-Li and I want to see Guile and I want to see what's going on with them. So I think there's so much more to explore with the already established Street Fighter lore that they'd be kind of foolish not to let us do that, given that we've kind of proved what we can do with Assassin's Fist.
I'm just going to really quickly rush through the last three questions. A lot of effort went into the costumes. Who designed them?
So I was working closely with our costume designer Emily Rose, who did a great job on the costumes just to make them look authentic, because the worst thing we were kind of dreading was that they would look like kind of cosplay and we would just look like a couple of guys dressed up in pajamas and stuff. So again, Legacy being a kind of proof of concept, and Emily was working on that as well, we were deciding on like how broken down to make Ryusuke and stuff, and she did a lot of research into like Japanese not only traditional styles but also contemporary stuff. When it kind of goes to the 1950s, 1960s, it's like, well, what would they be wearing when they're not training? So we had to look at a lot of the civilian clothes as well. So I went shopping in East London with Emily to like a lot of those vintage shops, so we could get some of like Ken and Ryu's stuff, because I was like, well, Ken, he's going to be wearing like the sleeveless cut off sweaters and things like that, just making it consummately 80s and whatnot. So yeah, she did a great job on like making those costumes look great, even for like Goma, the old fisherman, just to have all these little trinkets that he's wearing and have those things probably go under the radar for a lot of people, but if they weren't there it would look more odd than just seeing, okay, well, he's got all this crap on him, so that was great.
With LFCC, London Film Comic Con, starting in literally about an hour, not even that, do you have any plans to make a surprise appearance or anything?
If I'd known about it, maybe we could have organised something. I know we did the London Comic Con at the XL, which was a great experience. Like, there was a lot of kind of fan love. We did a big Q&A and they showed some of the series and everything. And unfortunately, because at the moment the team's kind of all over the world, it would have been great to get them all together in London to go to that, but unfortunately not is the answer.
And finally, as you're a massive fan of the game, I've got to ask, how did you find the hardest difficulty in Street Fighter 4?
To be honest, well, like I was saying earlier, I don't own an Xbox or anything. I probably play less games now than I did before we did the series. So, yeah, I mean, I would play it with friends, but I haven't really played the story mode, so I couldn't tell you. Although, I look at Maximilian Dude on YouTube. I don't know if you're familiar with that guy. He does his boss rage battles, and he went on Ultra all the way up to Oni, and it's a good watch. You should check that out. But yeah, no, I should get on it. How did you find it?
Horrible.
Nigh on impossible. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for the interview.
Awesome. No, it was great.
I'll let you know how it turns out. I'll have a look at it on the laptop tonight and see if like it's hot sand or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
As long as I wasn't walking too much.